One of the more interesting and useful mechanics in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are TM materials. These are items that you get from Pokemon either by knocking them out or by catching them that you can use to make TMs. Pretty much every TM material that you can get from a Pokemon references either the Pokedex itself or references some kind of previous Pokemon lore that we've known about. And so today, in no particular order, I just wanted to go over 5 of these items that I thought were pretty interesting. Number 5. Bonsai Tears. I think I actually kind of knew about this one beforehand, but I still had to look it up because I was a teensy bit confused. Like, why does Bonsai drop tears whenever you knock it out or you catch it? I wasn't really sure, so I had to look into it. But it's actually a reference to both the move Fake Tears and Bonsai's Pokedex entries. So apparently, if Bonsai builds up too much moisture, it becomes too damp, and in order to survive, it needs to let loose some moisture either by crying or by sweating. Apparently, it's been documented that its tears and its sweat are edible. I have so many questions about that. Both its sweat and its tears taste either salty or bitter, and I just want to ask what compelled any Pokemon professor to look at a crying Pokemon and decide, hey, I wonder if its tears are edible. All of this is kind of gross. Anyway, don't feel bad about knocking one out and seeing that it's giving you its tears for some reason. It's not actually crying, it's just a defense mechanism. Number 4. This is another one that kind of got me a little off guard because I'm not too familiar with Snover lore or Snover's Pokedex entries. It's a Pokemon that I kind of forget exists, honestly. But apparently, Snover has berries. So this one went completely over my head because I was not aware that Snover had berries of any kind. When springtime hits the Pokemon world, Snover around its abdomen, or whatever the hell an abdomen would be for a tree, starts to grow these popsicle-like berries. At least that's what the Pokedex describes them at, that they look like ice pops, basically. I kind of picture them looking like those sea salt ice pops that you got in Kingdom Hearts that you ate. Oddly enough, it's been documented that these are edible, but for some reason, no mention on what they taste like. You get Pokemon professors that are willing to taste Bonsai Tears and Bonsai Sweat, but for some reason, no mention as to what these ice pops taste like. There's also no mention as to whether or not Abomasnow grows berries as well, but there is a really cute Pokedex entry that says that Abomasnow actually fights off Galarian Darumaka that like to eat these berries that Snover produces. Number 3. Number 3 is Murkrow Bobbles. So if you look up the definition of the word bobble, you get a ton of different synonyms, something like shiny object, trinket, tchotchke. I love the word tchotchke, that's a great word. What I imagine this item is just something that Murkrow apparently just snatched from somebody and you managed to pick it up. How this is involved in the process of making TMs, I don't know. Murkrow Pokedex entries are really cool. They typically mention that it likes shiny things, and that it often steals from either different Pokemon or even from people themselves. It mentions multiple times that Murkrow are known to steal rings from women. Apparently Murkrow loves to steal from Gabite. Gabite also hoards things like Murkrow does. It also enjoys shiny things, which is something new I learned about Gabite. I didn't know that. Other Pokemon, it mentions Murkrow has a rivalry with Meowth, which also likes to hoard shiny things. Like I mentioned before, Murkrow likes to steal rings from women, so it's possible that upon knocking out a Murkrow, you actually get something of value like a ring. Like imagine that, you're just out there catching Pokemon, you catch a Murkrow, and it has this diamond ring for you. That bit about Gabite is actually really interesting. I like when Pokemon mentions that kind of thing, and the fact that Murkrow also has beef with Meowth. It's so cool. Murkrow has so many enemies. Why, Murkrow? Why? Number 2 is Pokemon Sweat. Makuhita Sweat, Metatite Sweat, Phalanx Sweat, and Bounsweet Sweat are 4 sweaty items that you can get from Pokemon. The fact that you can collect sweat from Pokemon is completely gross, and the fact that they're incorporated in TM making somehow is just, nasty work. Nasty work. So all these 4 items, Makuhita Sweat, Metatite Sweat, Phalanx Sweat, and Bounsweet Sweat, all of these are used to make various TMs, but out of all 4 of these Pokemon, Bounsweet is probably the one that has the most interesting lore behind its sweat. I couldn't really find anything about all the other Pokemon and their sweaty droppings. According to Pokedex entries, Bounsweet Sweat can be used for making juices. Juices that you can make from it are too strong and have to be watered down in order to be consumed by humans. Picture yourself drinking the watered down sweat of something else. Sounds a bit gross. There's also a very hilarious Pokédex entry that mentions that when it is cornered, Bounsweet secretes sweat, and this actually lures other Pokemon to its location. What is up with documenting how different Pokemon secretions taste and what they do? And number 1 is Didogoo. And I have so many questions about this item. Like, is Didogoo actually just another Ditto? Like, does it have the same transformation abilities as just a regular Ditto? Where does this come from? It's also interesting for a couple of other reasons. For one thing, it's one of the few TM materials that you get from Pokemon that isn't used to make any other TM whatsoever. Its specific purpose in the game, I'm pretty sure anyway, is just to be traded for either league points or for money. I'm not sure why it's not used to make any specific TM. Maybe there will be other TMs available in the future that will be able to use this Didogoo to make anything, or to make certain TMs. One more thing to mention about Didogoo is that it actually costs a little bit more than every other TM material. I think it actually ties with Happiny Dust as being maybe the most expensive TM material. I'm not sure why this is. So that does it for this list. These were just 5 that I thought were pretty interesting. There are definitely more that I want to talk about in the future. If there are any TM materials in particular you want me to discuss, just let me know. And thanks for watching!